Okay, now somebody else that does a wonderful job for my depression, because I'm always laughing when he's around. Steve Collins, welcome back.
Thanks very much, Fred.
Oh, people are going to say, you guys have taken over the whole world.
Yes.
It's Steve and Fred to Singapore. We've gone to ferry rides, we've gone to dinners, we've gone to TV shows.
We have.
What can we possibly do next?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to go and search for Philip's luggage. I think that'll be my next
I
quest.
heard, yes, Philip's luggage is over in Switzerland, I
It
believe.
is somewhere like that, yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to history, actually, a bit of history and Israel, and it's about the Battle of Beersheba. Now, next year is the centenary of the Battle of Beersheba, and very, very few Australians know about it. Beersheba is in Israel. Well, it's called Israel today. Back in the First World War, it was part of Palestine, and this battle is one of the greatest feats that Australians were ever involved in, and yet we know nothing about it. Basically, what it was held by the Ottoman Empire, which is Turkey. And so, and it was part of, it was in a line between Gaza, which was on the coast, and then Beersheba. Yeah, these are the Australian light horse. They were involved in it. And that was, they're the Turks in their trenches.
Why did they call it the light horse? Because I imagine a horse falling on you would be quite heavy.
Well, the idea wasn't for the horse to fall on you. These horses, these are great horses. They're whalers, and they're a nuggety Australian horse, which is ideal.
Amazing.
That there is a statue celebrating the light horsemen and the Battle of Beersheba. But it was important because Beersheba had all this water. There's not a lot of water there, and there were 7 wells there, and it was very, very well protected by the Turks, but only the western side of it was, because the eastern side was all desert, and they said, well, nobody's going to attack us from the desert because there's no water. So the Australians figured out, well, hold on, used to be settlements there, so if there were settlements there, there must have been water, so they went out on an expedition, so the Turks couldn't see them, and they found this little ancient town, and so they started looking for water, and they dug around and they found water. It took them 2 days to dig to find the water so that they could water themselves and their horses, which was even more important. And then they planned this attack, and this attack was absolutely fantastic because it started late on the afternoon of the 31st of October. And they rode very, very fast for 3,000 yards, which is, what, about 3 Ks or something. And they were riding very, very fast. The Turks weren't expecting it. And when they turned around, all they could see was this dust willied up. And they, what's that? And, of course, in those days, the technology wasn't as good. And so they had the Turks had these huge guns and machine guns, but they had to keep on readjusting them to get the aim. And the Australians were coming so fast at them that they couldn't readjust their weapons, and they eventually got there to where the Turkish trenches were, and the horses just leapt over the trenches. Half of the infantrymen, they dismounted, and they got their bayonets on their rifles, and they fought to the Turks, and the other half went into the town of Beersheba, and very, very narrow streets. They can only ride 1 or 2 horses in a line down the street. And by overcoming this, not many people died. I think they killed about 70 Turks all up. They're over 1,000 there, and the rest, the rest surrendered. That was the first Allied battle, first Allied win of World War I. It occurred in October 31st, 1917. And it was just amazing.
And they're celebrating this next year?
They're commemorating. You never celebrate war.
Never celebrate war.
They're commemorating the next war in Israel. And of course, Israel is a really interesting place to visit anyway. It's a miniature country, really, compared to Australia. You can ride over it in about an hour and a half or something from one side to the other. But there's so much history there, and of course, it is so important. I was watching a thing on SBS this week. Ernie Dingo was there, and Ian Thorpe. And it turns out that just about all of humanity that left Africa came through Israel, and there were. And that's where the modern humans mated with Neanderthals. We've each of us have got about 2% Neanderthals. So it's always been there. But when you go to Israel now, of course, there's Jerusalem, which is the holiest city in the world. It's very, very important to all the Abrahamic religions. You've got, of course, the Jews, the Christians and the Muslims. It's very, very important. So you go to Jerusalem and it's a magnificent city, very, very historic. And the other thing is, after the Battle of Beersheba, it was the Australians, this is part of Jerusalem, it was the Australians that first got fresh water into Jerusalem for the first time in its whole history. It's just an amazing city. There are other parts of Israel as well that you need to go and see.
Yep.
There's places like, this is Caesarea. Now, Caesarea was given to King Herod. You've heard of King Herod.
I have.
But he got a bit bad publicity. But they gave it to him because it was a port, and then he built the city. This is Masada. This was also King Herod. He built this magnificent city on top of this Masada. Tel Aviv. Now, you wouldn't believe that you can go surfing in Israel, but Tel Aviv's got a 14k beach, and it's a party city. There's cafes.
Do you know what's funny? Most Australians like me watching this now and saying, is it safe? And that's my thing. I love looking at those photos, but you're going to tell me there are wonderful places that we can visit there, and it is safe.
Well, it's basically safe. I mean, yes, there are some scuffles every now and then, but it's not aimed at tourists, and I don't think there's any case of tourists. Oh, just beautiful.
Have you been?
You go to the Dead Sea. My son's going in August, and I've been helping him to plan it. You go to the Dead Sea. It's the lowest place on Earth, 438 metres below sea level. And the water there, it's very, very saline. It's 8.6 times saltier. There we are, that's in the Dead Sea, saltier than normal seawater. You cannot drown in it because of all the salt. You just float on it. And there's all this mud around as well. Once again, King Herod, he built the world's first spa town there on the shores of the Dead Sea. And it's called the Dead Sea because life just can't thrive there. It's a great. But there is a tour next year to commemorate the centenary of the Battle of Beersheba. They're going to recreate it with people in the traditional Australian light infantry uniforms, etc. And so people can go there. It's been organised by the Israel Travel Centre.
I was going to ask you, how can we get more information?
Israel Travel Centre. You can email them sales@israeltravelcentre.com.au. I think there's going to be a number of tours go there. Last week I went to a talk by a guy called Iran Tirosh, who is an Israeli military historian who specialises in World War I around that area. And it was fascinating, and it was so great to hear about the Australians and what they did there. It was just fantastic.
It's another one of those places, like South Africa for me, that I've been very scared to go there, but I'd love to go there. So it might be an opportunity where people should get more information.
Well, Johannesburg, they don't recommend that you get out and about yourself. Nobody says don't go and have a look at Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or any of these places. It looks beautiful, doesn't it? Because I have to say, the Israeli security forces, they're pretty good. They're probably the best in the world.
Well, go and have a look if that's the last thing on your bucket list. Leave it as the last thing. Fantastic. Steve, where are you going to next time?
I don't know. I'm probably Myanmar, I think.
Myanmar?
Yeah, or Burma. A lot of people know it.
Me and Mum?
Me and Mum, me and Dad.
Myanmar. Where is that? Burma?
Burma, yes. We call it Burma. They call it Myanmar. But apparently Myanmar is the Burmese name for Burma, so I don't know.
Always a mountain of information. RadioRoaming.com if you want to catch his podcast. He's also on 6PR Radio and here on the couch. We'll be back with Steve. He'll come back after the break. He's going to be doing a little bit something cheesy. Stick around for that. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Philip Wally Stack right beside me. We'll be back with more of the couch right after this, only on Foxtel.